if you're hearing a noise in the background, no, it's not Sean actually. It's not you, right? Sorry. Karen Shishero joined Sean Michael Small and I this morning, and we were just having a bit of a laugh before coming back. But Karen, good morning, good to see you.
Good morning to you, Sean. Good morning, especially to you, Ketan.
Hello, Karen.
And you know why I said I missed you?
Yes.
And you told me I would see you today, and so said, so done.
I kept my word. I kept my promise.
Did.
Karen, a lot is happening in the news, and one of the things that has been raised recently is the awarding of senior counsel or silk status to, well, it was initially 18 attorneys at law, but 17 were awarded because Lynette Sibran-Sweet actually recused herself.
Yes.
As she's the president of the Law Association. But this entire controversy over the awarding of silk, as it surrounds the president's husband and brother. The opposition has been heavily critical of it, but are they being contradictory?
Well, what I will say is that, yes, you can say they're being contradictory, but that's no excuse for the current government that has been in power since 2015. If they themselves found that it was not the right thing to do, and they felt that the suggestion, which has come from a number of parties, including you have Israel Khan going to court in March, to question the constitutionality of the current arrangement, it means that they had the opportunity to say it's not the right way to deal with this, that a prime minister who's not a member of the legal profession, yes, it goes through the AG, who's the titular head of the legal profession, but certainly there's no question that there must be discussion between the AG and the Prime Minister regarding the appointments, and therefore it comes as though it is an executive, a political decision. And that is a matter of concern. I'm looking at it firstly broadly, and should I give a little bit of the background? Because some people thought, I was told, felt that it came out of actual legislation. Actually, it's and I have to owe my knowledge of this to Dave Prasad, who wrote an excellent article, so I'm not going to, I'm not plagiarizing, I'm using his immense knowledge. So to start with, the first, what they called notice, and that was when we had QC, Queen's Counsel, not Senior Counsel, was made pursuant to the provisions of an order number 282 in 1964. And that process was, as still maintains itself, you submit a list to the Attorney General, who is, as I said, the titular head of the legal profession, who then consult with the Chief Justice and other bodies, but that consultation is absolutely not mandatory. In other words, he doesn't have to do that. Mm-hmm. What he has to do is, once he's gotten the list, he then submits that list to the Prime Minister. And at that point, I'm quite confident this is where the mischief arises, because I know, although I'm not in practice, I have many persons that I know who more than qualify to be made a Queen's Counsel or Senior Counsel, looking at the lineup. I'm not saying anything against anyone, but certainly, but because they have not, in my respectful opinion, towed the line, in other words, are seen to be anti the government and anti the Prime Minister. And that should never be a decision on making someone a senior counsel within the legal profession. Political views should have nothing to do with that. And there is nothing set out saying what are the requirements for becoming a senior counsel. So that was the first notice. There's another one that was in a notice, the most recent notice, extraordinary notice, 522, dated April 14, 23, under the hand of the Attorney General for appointment of senior counsel. Again, from the AG, he then passes on the recommendations. He can or cannot, does not have to consult with members of the bar or anyone, and then that list goes to the Prime Minister. I'm sure they have their discussion about who makes the cut, because it's the Prime Minister who makes the decision. And when we talk about the President, I just remind viewers that Section 80 of the Constitution, we have to go by the law, Section 80 of the Constitution does provide that the President shall act in accordance with the advice of the Cabinet or minister acting under the general authority of the Cabinet, except where otherwise provides. So when the President appointed, that appointment would be following what the Prime Minister had decided. But it really is a political decision which should not at all happen. And I want to please indulge me a little bit, because did the Prime Minister not think that something was wrong with that? Yeah, when he's in the opposition, he saw a lot was wrong with it. A lot.
So then,
Can
arguably, then the entire process is flawed because it allows for political influence.
But that's exactly it, and I'm going to read from the Prime Minister in 2011, yes, in the Parliament. This is what he had to say when he was not Prime Minister. What we are seeing, and he was talking about what had happened, Anand Ramlogan, who was then Attorney General, bestowed the rank of senior counsel to the Prime Minister, Kamala Prasad, and I think he did it with the DPP as well as the Chief Justice, who both, after a lot of pressure from the public, I believe that had a lot to do with it, they returned the senior counsel designation. But in any case, this is what he had to say, and I'm quoting him. What we are seeing now demands the process by which people attain accolades should be transparent, to be put in the hands of people who will protect the process from self-serving. To see the system abused in the political arena demands that we immediately move to review the system to make it more accountable to the national community. That's what your Prime Minister felt in 2011. When he got a chance, to do what he felt was wrong, so he clearly recognized that what was being done was political and it was unaccountable. But one more, the Attorney General himself, because remember, according to the process, you send your the applications to the AG first. And this is what Reginald Armour, who was in 2015 the president of the Law Association and Tobago, and that organization has already now spoken out very strongly on it, to the extent to which they've asked to be made an interested party in a matter that Israel Khan, senior counsel, had commenced in March. They now want to be an interested party. But this is what Reginald Armour, as the president, in a report said. He said that the independence of the legal profession, and in particular the bar from the state, in all its pervasive manifestations, is one hallmark of a free society. It is objectionable in principle for the executive or head of the executive arm of state and for the Honorable Prime Minister to play any role in this selection. That's your Attorney General.
May I ask you?
The current Attorney General.
2 points.
The current Attorney General.
Yeah.
Who sat down on that, whatever they called it, smiling very happily, or so it seemed, with what they had done.
But 2 points. One, if there is no set guidelines as for what it entails in order to be awarded senior counsel status, one, what is the point anyway of silk? What does it allow for? And two, are we making a bigger issue of something that should not be of major concern because of other pressing issues?
Well, I don't think because there are other pressing issues because perhaps that's one of the things, I'm not saying that's what's happening, but certainly, you could chew gum and walk at the same time. And that's part of being in government. I mean, that's what you call on. That's why you have so many ministers and you have a number of consultants, etc. So it's not as though it's a one-man show. So I don't agree with that perspective. And this is extremely important because it is what is seen as executive overreach. Because the fact of the matter is, whilst I am not in practice, I do know a number of attorneys. And they very well know, and I know some of them who definitely, I'm not saying those who are there don't qualify, who definitely qualify to be silk or Queen's senior counsel, but they very well know that if they take a position that is seen by the Prime Minister to be against his government or against him, they're not going to get it.
And
that is not right.
That affects their earning potential.
But that's not the point. what are the requirements for being a senior counsel? When you become senior counsel, it's like an honor. It's not just an honor, but it is the fraternity of the legal profession who have said that this person is entitled, has earned that honor to be senior counsel. Senior counsel charges different fees. Their fee status is completely different when they are. It is a tremendous honor to be a senior counsel. You wear different robes, so everybody knows that you wear silk. That's why they could say you're wearing silk, because your gown is now supposedly silk, and your fee structure, and you get not a lot of briefs as a consequence of that, not only from Trinidad, but from other CARICOM countries, right? So there's a tremendous, because when you are senior counsel, it's saying that you have met a very high standard. Now, who are the persons to make that judgment?
Yeah. I think, and there's a lot to say with regards to the Prime Minister's response to all of this, but on the basis of, or the basics of the criteria, what is the point of senior counsel? And the origin, I believe, is where we have a problem, because we took a mechanism, King's Counsel, whose own origin came out of a monarchy. Now, obviously, yes, the UK has modified things, they've kept some of the old terms, but what works for them, and some could argue even their parliamentary setup is not necessarily working for them. There are criticisms with regards to the amount of power that the Prime Minister in the UK has, etc., and what checks and balances they have with the system.
You mean generally?
Generally, right?
Yeah, but
my point is with this, the whole idea is, it's one thing, yes, King's Counsel, and the king decides, and okay, we're fine with that. But we don't have a king here. And by leaving it up to the leadership, the political leadership, it opens up a can of worms that I don't think. The irony, of course, is the Prime Minister seems to be woefully ignorant of some of the principles in his own argument. Same with the Attorney General. I can get to that after the break. But I just think that the whole idea of it, if it's, it's an honor, but it's also a potential professional advancement.
But it's not only that.
But the process is not
dollars and cents.
Right, professional. But the process is not meritorious. And one could argue, how could it be considered consistent?
But just a very quick correction. The king does not decide.
No, he doesn't.
No, I know, but what I'm saying, the origin of it, right? And then it was.
That's before the. That's before.
Yeah, so
right.
The what is? No.
But,
that is.
But you see, they transferred that authority from the king to the Prime Minister.
No, they did not. They transferred that authority from the Governor General to the President.
No, I'm talking about UK.
Huh?
I'm talking about UK.
Yeah, but what I am, anyway, I said, I'll tell you what the solution has been put forward, and it's absolutely a sound solution. That is, it should be made up of a committee, made up of senior counsel from both the criminal bar and the civil bar, because they're the best persons to judge whether you make the cut.
Yes.
A high court judge, a court of appeal judge, because that's who you are going to be appearing before at all times. Definitely the Chief Justice should be part of that process, but it should be a combination of persons who are in the best position to decide whether the status of senior counsel, you earn senior counsel after years. You don't become senior counsel just like that. You have to earn that status. It's not a thing like we giving you a ORTO because we feel that this is something that they look at how you have performed as
well,
not always.
Lady and gentlemen, as we conclude this particular part of this morning's discussions, I would simply say that it is rather unfortunate what is taking place in the sense of the entire controversy, though not unfounded, because the process needs obviously to change. This is not the first time that this has happened. It's not entirely new to us, but such discussions have been raised once more. To me, it is unfortunate that this controversy is overshadowing the achievements of the other attorneys who are awarded senior counsel status. In other words, what they deserve and what they've worked for. And in some instances, one might argue there are political ties and political affiliations with them as well. And I wouldn't deny or doubt that. But it just takes away a bit from
You
them being
can't,
awarded.
But Ketan, you really cannot say that with such. Well, I'll come back with my point.
Not a problem. Let's take a quick break here, and when we return, Karen will just make that point. We'll be right back after.